Okay. The meeting room, the Tharsis bulge rising higher and higher to the south. Out in the middle distance was the low bump of Tharsis Tholis, and to the left of it, just poking over the horizon, lay the purple cone of Ascraeus Mons, the northernmost of the Great Prince volcanoes. But Sax was not in the meeting room, and he never looked out of this window, as far as John could tell. He was next door in a lab, more lab rat than ever, hunch-shouldered and twitch-whiskered, gazing around at the floor, speaking in a voice that sounded like an AI. He led John through a whole sequence of labs, leaning forward to peer into screens or at an inching graph paper, talking to John over a shoulder, in a state of distraction. The rooms they passed through were jammed with computers, printers, screens, books, rolls and stacks of paper, disks, GC mass specs, incubators, fume hoods, long apparatus-filled lab tables, whole libraries, and placed on every precarious surface were potted plants, most of them unrecognizable bulges, armored succulents and the like. So that at a glance, it looked like a virulent mold. I swear to God, I did not read ahead, okay? I don't read ahead. I'm just gifted. Okay. So at a glance, it looked like a virulent mold had sprung up and covered everything. Your labs are getting kind of messy, John said. Sorry. Your labs are getting kind of messy, John said. The planet is the lab, Sax replied. John laughed, moved a bright yellow Sir Arctic cactus from a countertop, and sat down. It was said Sax never left these rooms anymore. What are you simming today? Atmospheres? Of course. It was a problem that gave Sax a serious case of the blinks. All the heat they were releasing or applying to the planet was thickening the atmosphere. But all their CO2 fixing strategies were thinning it. And as the chemical composition of the air slowly shifted to something less poisonous, it became less greenhouse gassed as well, so that things cooled down and the process slowed. Negative feedback countering positive feedback all over the place. Juggling all these factors into any meaningful extrapolative program was more than anyone had yet accomplished to Sax's satisfaction. So he had resorted to his usual solution. He was trying to do it himself. He paced. This man is dangerous. They're moving so fast, you know? Wonder what background KSR has in science. Would be cool to know if he needed to research for the book. He definitely researched. The only thing is that nowadays, most people would say terraforming is way too big of a project. Even if we did it, it would take thousands of years. So that's kind of giving me a sense of unease to be reading a book where somebody's, just jamming it in, you know, like just full speed ahead, no brakes. But that's not even possible. So forget about the internet, you know, like we're probably not actually, but that's what's fantasy about it. That's what's fun about it. Like we're not gonna build an atmosphere. 6 months or years and years? Probably years. But I do wonder what kind of background he has as well. Because sometimes years of research can be encompassed in like just your life. It's not too late to save Mars. Yet. Just one Genesis torpedo. Fuck yeah. Okay, negative feedback countering positive feedback. So Sachs had resorted to his usual solution. He was trying to do it himself. I don't know, I probably missed it. Oh, GC gas chromatography. I looked confused because I couldn't remember I couldn't remember that word. Yes, but mass spec gas chromatography. That I believe that is correct. We just call it G-spec around here. Where is the G-spec? I've never found it. He paced the narrow aisles left between equipment, moving chairs out of his way. There's just too much carbon dioxide. In the old days, the modelers... I don't know if that's the correct term. The modelers swept that under the rug. Yeah, oh, maybe modelers. There's just too much carbon dioxide. In the old days, the modelers swept that under the rug. I think I'm going to have to have robots feed the southern polar cap into Sabatier factories. What we can process won't sublime, and we can release the oxygen and make bricks of the carbon, I guess. Or we can release the oxygen and make bricks of the carbon, I guess. I cannot read that smoothly, I'm sorry. In the old days, the modelers swept that under the rug. I think I'm going to have robots feed the southern polar cap into Sabatier factories. What we can process won't sublime, and we can release the oxygen and make bricks of the carbon, I guess. We'll have more carbon blocks than we know what to do with. Black pyramids to go with the white. Pretty. John says pretty. The Craze and the two new Schillers hummed away behind him, providing his monotonal recitative with a ground bass. God damn it. Providing his monotonal recitative with a ground bass. These computers spent all their time running through one set of conditions after another, Sachs said. But the results, while never the same, were seldom encouraging. The air was going to be cold and poisonous for a good while yet. Thank you, Purple Wayne. Sax wandered down the hall, and John followed him into what looked like another lab, although there was a bed and a refrigerator in one corner. Violently disarranged bookscapes were overgrown with potted plants. Sounds like my house. Violently disarranged bookscapes were overgrown with potted plants, bizarre Pleistocene growths that looked as deadly as the air outside. John sat in the lone, empty chair. Sax stood and looked down at a seashell shrub as John described his meeting with Anne. Yeah, right? Saxifrage. I love that name. Cray became Silicon Graphics in the mid-90s and was the rendering system for all the big CGI back then. Holy shit. Like, I feel like if I was reading this, I'm reading this for the first time live. But I feel like if I was reading it by myself, the fucking Wikipedia rabbit holes that I would have fallen into, I almost feel like my soul has been spared. I'll read it again at a later date and try to find out. But, I mean, you guys, thank you. A later date, for sure. But hey, at least I'm spreading the joy to all of you book club members. They could be networked to be scalable, which was fucking huge. Dude, fuck yeah. See? Like, come on. This stuff helps me relax. No, the 90s was awesome. I wish I wasn't a fetus. But you know, it's no time like the present. I had like 5 years in the 90s. I spent it learning how to walk and recognize the letters of the alphabet. But it was really cool being like a baby when computers were like just starting to take off. Like, I don't know. I'm looking back on it now and I feel like, I don't know. My like, I can't. I don't even know what to say, man. It was wild. The computer was like fire, you know, and I was a caveman, but I was a toddler. The best time to be a fetus was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Yeah, right? Something like that. Hey, it was hard to hide porn for a long time, okay? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So many Playboys found in bushes between houses. The first, yeah. I'm drinking Bud Light. No, literally, okay, I'm debating on whether or not to tell this story. Literally the first time I saw porn was like, it must have been a teenager, so I don't know. Like, they just don't have experiences like this anymore. Or if they do, it gets, like, put in, like, a TikTok or something. Anyways, literally walking between my friend's house in the country, and I lived up the street in the country, and I'm walking to my fucking friend's house that rides the same bus route as me, and there was the first time I ever saw porn, it was literally under a bridge, like, in the river. It was in the bottom of a river. We looked over the fucking bridge and there was a porno mag with that looked like it got thrown off the bridge, and it was like spread page down under the bridge. I don't know. It was, you know, people don't have experiences like that anymore. Oh wow, it was. I learned a lot that day. I've never seen a magazine like that. And we were like, that's porn. Oh, it was, okay, anyway, literally in a river. Like, it was, I don't know. It's a great story, in my opinion. Okay, the Schillers and the Crays, this weird plant. John sat in the lone empty chair. Sax stood and looked down at a seashell shrub by the seashore as John described his meeting with Anne. Do you think she's involved? Sax said. I think she may know who is. She mentioned someone called the Coyote. Ah, yes. Sax glanced briefly at John. At his feet, Sax glanced briefly at John, at his feet to be precise. She's sicking us onto a legendary character. He's supposed to have been on the Aries with us. You know. He's supposed to have been on the Aries with us, you know. Hidden by Hiroko. John was so surprised that Sax had heard of the Coyote that it took him a while to figure out what else was disturbing about what he had said. Yeah, literally, I'm having like John's reaction right now. God damn it. This is so hard to read for the first time live. John was so surprised that Sax had heard of the Coyote that it took him a while to figure out what else was disturbing about what he had said. But then it came to him. One night, Maya had told him that she had seen a face. The face of a stranger. The voyage out had been hard on Maya, and he had discounted the tale. But now, Sax was wandering around turning on lights, peering at screens, muttering about security measures. He opened the refrigerator door briefly, and John caught a glimpse of more spiky growths. Either he kept experiments in there, or else his snack food had suffered a truly virulent eruption of mold. John said, "You can see why most of the attacks have been on the moleholes. They're the easiest project to attack." Sax tilted his head to the side. Are they? Think about it. Your little windmills are everywhere. There's nothing to be done about them. People are disabling them. We've had reports. What, a dozen? And how many are out there? 100,000? They're junk, Sax. Litter. Your worst idea. And nearly fatal to his project, in fact, because of the algae dishes Sax had hidden in them. I knew it. I fucking knew it, dude. I was like, is it Hiroko? It wasn't Anne. It wasn't Nadia. It wasn't Arkady. It wasn't John. It wasn't Frank, the most devious man of all. Sax. He fucking did it, dude. I bet he wanted Arkady to die on that mission. Amarak, finally, dude. Yes, Arkady was framed. And he almost got away with it. Not for those damn kids surviving. You can see why most of the attacks have been on the Mohols. They're the easiest project to attack. I still don't know what a Mohole is. Sax tilted his head. Are windmills are the windmills Moholes? Oh, he thinks his windmills would be the thing that they're... He's like, why the Moholes? My windmills are obviously the windmills were so offensive. Ugh. Okay, anyways, letting my red leak out. They're the easiest project to attack. Sax tilted his head to the side. Are they? Think about it. Your little windmills are everywhere. There's nothing to be done about them. People are disabling them. We've had reports. What, a dozen? And how many are out there? 100,000? They're junk, Sax. Litter. Your worst idea. And nearly fatal to his project, in fact. Because of the algae dishes Sax had hidden in them. All of that algae had died, apparently. But if it hadn't, and if anyone had been able to prove Sax had been responsible for its dissemination, he could have lost his job. It was yet another indication that Sax's logical manner was a front. Now his nose was wrinkled. They add up to a terawatt a year. And knocking a few apart won't do anything to that. Sorry, I need like a voice for Sax. Now his nose was wrinkled. They add up to a terawatt a year. And knocking a few apart won't do anything to that. As for the other physical operations, the black snow algae is on the northern polar cap and can't be removed. The dawn and the dusk mirrors are in orbit, and it's not so easy to knock them out. Someone did it to Pythagoras. True, but we know who it was. There's the security team following her. Get a helium balloon for Sax. Roar, you're the man with the solutions, okay? Come on. Someone did it to Pythagoras. True, but we know who it was. And there's a security team following her. She may never lead them to anyone else. They may be able to afford to expend a person per act. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, but some simple changes in screening personnel would make it impossible for anyone to smuggle tools aboard. Yeah, fuck you. Some simple changes in screening would make it impossible for anyone to smuggle tools aboard. They could use what's out there. Sax shook his head. The mirrors are vulnerable. Okay, more than some projects anyway. Those mirrors are adding 30 calories per square centimeter per soul. Sax said. and more all the time. Almost all the freighters from Earth were sun sailors now. And when they arrived in the Martian system, they were linked to large collections of earlier arrivals, parked in asynchronous orbit, and programmed to swivel so that they reflected their light onto the Terminators, adding a little bit of energy to each day's dawn and dusk. The whole arrangement had been coordinated by Sax's office, and he was proud of it. "We'll increase security for all the maintenance crews," John said. So, increased security on the mirrors and at the moholes. "Yes, but that's not all." Sax sniffed. "What do you mean?" "Well, the problem is that it isn't just the terraforming projects per se that are potential targets. I mean, the nuclear reactors are part of the project too, in their way. They provide a lot of your power, and they're pumping out heat like the furnaces they are. If one of them were to go, it would cause all kinds of fallout. More political even than physical." The vertical lines between Sax's eyes reached up nearly to his hairline. John held out his palms. "It's not my fault. That's just the way it is." Sax said, "AI, take note. Look into reactor security." "Note taken," one of the Schillers said, sounding just like Sax. "And that's not the worst," John said. Sax twitched, glared furiously at the floor. "The bioengineering labs." Sax's mouth became a tight line. "New organisms are being cooked up daily," John went on. "And it might be possible to create something that would kill everyone else on the planet." Sax blinked. "Let's hope none of these people think like you." "I'm just trying to think like them." "AI, take a note. Biolab security." "Of course, Vlad and Ursula and their group have stuck suicide genes into everything they make," John said. "But those are meant to stop over success or mutational accidents. If someone were to circumvent them and concoct something that fed on over success, we could be in trouble." "I see that." So, the labs, the reactors, the moholes, the mirrors. It could be worse. Sax rolled his eyes. "I'm glad you think so. I'll talk to Helmut about it. I'll be seeing him soon anyway. It looks like they're going to approve Phyllis's elevator at the next UNOMA session. That will cut the costs of terraforming tremendously." Fuck, they're building the orbital elevator? Is that what that is? Okay, anyways. They're going to approve Phyllis's elevator at the next UNOMA session. That will cut the costs of terraforming tremendously. Eventually it will, but the initial investment must be huge. Sax shrugged. Push an Amor asteroid into orbit, set you up a robot factory, let it go to work. It's not as expensive as you might think. John rolled his eyes. Sax, who's paying for all of this? Sax tilted his head, blinked. The sun. John stood, suddenly hungry. Then the sun calls the shots. Remember that. And there's a break in part 5, which is where we'll end tonight. The sun calls the shots. Remember that. Thank you for listening, y'all. Aw, Mom, I don't want to go to bed yet. Dude, that's exactly how I feel when I tell people we're done reading who are really into it. That's great. I'm like, no, 5 more minutes. You're going to bed now.